Highway robbery, a national disgrace. A 2019 report by the ACLU unveiled a stark reality. In many parts of America, police departments are operating more like collection agencies than protectors of the peace. This policing-for-profit scheme disproportionately targets low-income communities and communities of color. The report, "A Speeding Ticket Can Land You in Jail," exposes how traffic enforcement has mutated into a predatory system. Across the country, from Bainbridge, Washington to Newark, Ohio, municipalities are relying on fines and fees from traffic violations to pad their budgets. Police officers, sworn to serve and protect, are instead incentivized to fill municipal coffers. They are transformed into debt collectors in uniform, preying on those least able to afford it. This system of predatory policing is not only morally bankrupt, but it is also counterproductive. The erosion of trust between law enforcement and the communities they serve has devastating consequences. We must demand better of our justice system and hold those in power accountable. The fundamental problem with policing for profit is the distorted set of incentives it creates. When an officer asks if you would rather have a seatbelt ticket than a speeding ticket, you know it's about money, not keeping people safe. When police departments are judged by the revenue they generate, rather than the safety they provide, their priorities become dangerously skewed. Traffic stops, instead of being about ensuring road safety, become opportunities for revenue generation. This focus on revenue has led to the proliferation of petty offenses that disproportionately target the poor. Minor violations, such as broken taillights or expired registration tags, become traps for hefty fines and fees. For those struggling to make ends meet, these fines can be insurmountable. The consequences can be devastating, leading to a spiral of debt, job loss, and even incarceration. When officers are pressured to issue a certain number of tickets or make a certain number of arrests, the emphasis shifts from legitimate law enforcement to meeting arbitrary targets. This pressure can lead to racial profiling, harassment, and the targeting of individuals based on their perceived ability to pay, rather than on any actual wrongdoing. It is time for a radical reimagining of our approach to law enforcement, one that prioritizes fairness, equity, and the dignity of all citizens. The use of law enforcement as a revenue-generating tool strikes at the very heart of the ethical code that should guide our justice system. Police officers take an oath to serve and protect, not to shake down and exploit. Yet, when financial incentives are prioritized over public safety, the line between justice and revenue becomes dangerously blurred. When people see the law as a tool of oppression rather than a shield of protection, they are less likely to cooperate with law enforcement, report crimes, or view the legal system as fair and impartial. This breakdown in trust has far-reaching consequences, making it more difficult to solve crimes, build strong communities, and ensure public safety. The perverse incentives driving policing for profit are often fueled by federal funding programs. These programs, ostensibly designed to support law enforcement, often incentivize the very practices that undermine public trust. For example, the Department of Justice's Edward Byrne Memorial Justice Assistance Grant Program has been criticized for providing financial incentives for arrests, often for low-level offenses. This focus on arrest numbers, rather than on public safety outcomes, creates a perverse incentive for police departments to prioritize arrests over community policing, de-escalation, or other strategies that address the root causes of crime. Funding should be contingent on clear metrics of public safety and community trust, not on arrest numbers or revenue generation. The time for reform is long overdue. We must move away from the current system of predatory policing and towards a model of law enforcement that prioritizes justice, equity, and the dignity of all citizens. This requires a fundamental shift in both policy and practice. We must end the reliance on fines and fees as a source of revenue for local governments. Funding for essential public services should come from equitable and sustainable sources, not from the pockets of the poor. We must eliminate quotas for arrests and tickets, which incentivize the wrong behaviors and lead to the over-policing of marginalized communities. Police officers should be judged on their ability to keep communities safe, not on the number of citations they issue. We must invest in community policing models that emphasize building trust and relationships between law enforcement and the communities they serve. This requires a commitment to de-escalation, cultural sensitivity training, and addressing the root causes of crime. We must hold law enforcement accountable for their actions. Please like and subscribe for more content.